All right, good morning.
Morning.
July 29, 2025. This is the 11th meeting of the Rhode Island Ethics Commission for 2025. Second item on the agenda is a motion to approve the minutes of the open session held on July 1, 2025. Is there a motion?
So,
Motion by Commissioner Sushi, second. Second. Commissioner Centarini. Commissioner Susie.
hi,
Commissioner Strauss is abstaining. Commissioner Callahan. Aye. Commissioner Centarini. Aye. Commissioner Peterson abstaining. Commissioner Rabideau. Aye. Chair votes aye. The next item is the director's report.
Good morning. Just a few things on the director's report today. In complaints and investigations, we have 7 complaints pending right now. Just to quickly go through them in the James Thorson matter, still awaiting that deposition. I fully expect to have more information at our very next meeting. So that's all the info I have for today. In the Heidi Rogers complaint, we do have an adjudication date scheduled for October 21st. So we plan to have a administrative trial that day. So for your calendars, you might want to make sure you block the whole morning, at the very least off, and that's October 21st.
our regular meeting.
It's a regular meeting day, but we'll probably devote most of the meeting to that adjudication.
And you're continuing whatever discussions you've been having with for council.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll keep you updated if that status changes or if it looks like it's going to go a different route. We have a probable cause hearing today in the Jason Pichardi complaint. And then we have a complaint against Jonathan Pascua, and that's under investigation. There are 2 pending complaints against Robert Lombardo. Those are both still under investigation. And finally, we have a new complaint today that we're going to initially determine on James Durkee. So that'll be today in executive session. We have 7 pending advisory opinions right now, 3 on today's agenda. It's just a normal clip with advisory opinions. They come in, they go out. We're getting to them very quickly, and the timing on those are going very well. With APRA requests, we only had 3 since the last meeting. They were a little more complex than our normal APRA requests. So only one of them, unfortunately, we were able to complete in that 1 business day turnaround. One of them took 4 days, still better than the 10, but still took 4 days. And that required some attorney review. And that's the reason why it regarded an advisory opinion request. And then one of them took 5 business days. And that's just because we had to pull historic financial disclosure statements from storage. It was kind of an interesting one. Former out-of-state public official who hasn't lived here forever, but someone wanted their old financial statements. Financial disclosure.
Jason, before you go to that, I'm just curious on these APRA requests, whether there's ever any time where you feel like any of those have to come before the commission.
They should never. I'll tell you that the only time maybe one might. The way APRA works is they go through, most of the time an attorney doesn't even need to look at them. We've really streamlined it. Although in a lot of agencies, they don't do this, which is a big mistake, but our administrative officers can handle, they know what's public and what's not. You know, they want a financial disclosure statement. Yes, it's public. They want a request for an advisory opinion. That's just always public. So an attorney does not need to review that. If an attorney needs to review it, we have a dedicated attorney who handles all of our APRA reviews. Right now, that's Attorney Poppin. And she makes the call and decides what is and isn't public. If she withholds documents or redacts something, then she has to inform them that they have a right to appeal it to me as the administrative head of the agency. I don't think that's ever happened, honestly. But if it, because we lean on the side of disclosure. If it did happen, I would make the call. And if it looked like it was going to head from me to maybe a complaint at the Attorney General's office or they're going to file suit in Superior Court. I think at that point, I would probably bring it to you to see if you wanted to overrule my decision to withhold a certain document. But that's never happened, and I don't really think it's going to. Just so you know, I wouldn't get us sued without letting you know that I made a decision that you might not. Is that good?
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to know.
So, and then in financial disclosure, we have one non-filer left,
That's it?
one. And we will be filing a complaint tomorrow.
Charter school?
No, a municipal, appointed official. So, you know, you'll see when we bring it, you know, who knows if we will. I mean, we were going to file 2 tomorrow and one of them came in yesterday. So, you know, we're filing 1 and it's possible that it could come in this afternoon. But if not, then we'll be talking about it at the very next commission meeting. Then finally, general office administration, our next meeting is August 19th. And I just want to note that for today, for a couple of our advisory opinions, the staff attorney is going to be presenting the opinion remotely, which is the first time we've done that. It doesn't violate the open meetings laws for petitioners who appear remotely or for the staff attorneys to present remotely, but it would violate the open meetings laws and if any of you participated remotely. And that's why we don't allow you to do it. You always have to come. We love to allow you to do it remotely in those instances where you're out of town or sick, but the law doesn't allow it. And that's the direction.
Any commissioners have any questions for Jason? There being none, is there a sign up sheet, please? First one on the list is Joe Balducci. As he put his name in. We have it as Joseph, sir.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. This is one where I'll be promoting staff attorney Papa to panelists. So that she can present. This paper. So she's in the meeting.
Good morning, commissioners. I hope everyone is able to hear me this morning.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Balducci. I apologize I cannot meet you in person today. This advisory opinion is on the tab B in your binders. Mr. Balducci is the Chief Financial Officer for the Creston Public Schools. In his private capacity, he's been offered an appointment to the Board of Directors of Access Point, Rhode Island. Access Point, Rhode Island is a nonprofit human services organization that provides services to children and adults with developmental disabilities. Access Point, Rhode Island is the parent entity to Cornerstone Schools. Mr. Balducci represents the several Creston students attend the Cornerstone School, and the Cornerstone School is reimbursed for the services provided to the Creston students by the city of Creston. Mr. Balducci is before you today to seek guidance regarding whether the Code of Ethics prohibits him from accepting appointment to the Board of Directors of Access Point, Rhode Island. He represents that he does not participate in any decision-making relative to which students attending which private special education schools. He does not also participate in the negotiations of the contracts with Cornerstone or the establishments of the fees that are paid to Cornerstones for the services provided to the Creston school students. However, he does participate in the oversight of the timely payment of tuitions to private schools, including Cornerstone. Such oversight at times includes requesting confirmation that the services that are listed on the bills for tuition have been provided. And then just as soon as he confirms that those services have been provided, he makes sure that that bill is paid timely. He does not sign the checks for the payment of the tuitions. And the other thing that he does relative to Cornerstone is just when the budget is being produced for the school district, he confirms whether students are still going to attend private schools for the next year and how much tuition is expected to be paid. When he receives that data, he inputs it as line items into the budget and then he forwards it to the superintendent. And this is the extent of his involvement with the oversight of the tuition payments or the information that it's put in the budget. I have listed several provisions of the Code of Ethics that I have reviewed in the instant draft, and those provisions are listed on pages 2 and 3 of the draft and include sections 5E, 5D, 5E, and regulation 1.2.1. Here, none of these provisions of the Code of Ethics prohibit Mr. Balducci simultaneous service in both positions. Additionally, there is no evidence that serving in both positions would impair the petitioner's independence of judgment in his public capacity. Therefore, it is the opinion of the staff that Mr. Balducci may accept the appointment to the Board of Directors of Access Point, Rhode Island. However, he has to remain vigilant and avoid any potential conflict of interest that may arise. Here, upon his appointment to the Board of Directors to Access Point, Rhode Island, he would become a business associate with Access Point. In addition, he would also become a business associate of Cornerstone. Given that he serves as the Board of Directors to Access Point, Rhode Island, and could affect the financial objectives of the school. Therefore, Mr. Balducci shall remain vigilant and of certain prohibitions of the Code of Ethics, such as avoid or the prohibition of sharing any confidential information with his business associate, participating. He will be prohibited from participating in any discussion or decision-making of matters that may financially impact his business associates. He may not represent his business associates before his agency, and also he may not participate in any matter in which representatives of his business associates appear to represent the interest of his business associates. Notwithstanding these prohibitions, however, Mr. Balducci may continue to perform his current duties relative to the oversight of payments to Cornerstone and collecting of the data or financial data for the annual budget. These functions here are ministerial rather than substantive. Recusals, if any, must be filed consistent with the provisions of section 36.6. The petitioner is advised to seek further guidance from the Ethics Commission in the future if needed. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Mr. Balducci,
No, Attorney Popper has done an excellent job,
that's exactly what I was gonna ask. You've had an opportunity to speak with him, you've reviewed the decision.
and I received a draft copy, a written draft copy, and I am in agreement with the facts.
And you have no concerns or questions about it, you've had with what you had.
I do not.
Members of the commission, does anybody have any questions for either Ms. Papa or Mr. Balducci? Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by staff? Motion by Commissioner Callahan, second by Commissioner Rabideau. Roll call vote. Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Mr. Strauss. Aye. Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centerino.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rabideau.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
today.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
The next item on the sign-up sheet is Molly Ogre. What we have is Molly Moran Ogre. Morning. This is also a turn problem.
Yes. This draft advisory opinion is in the tab A in your binders. Good morning, Ms. Moran Ogren. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. The petitioner is an environmental policy analyst with the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. In that capacity, she also serves as the chairperson of the Seafood Marketing Collaborative. She seeks guidance from the Ethics Commission today regarding whether the Code of Ethics prohibits her from starting a private business to offer and provide marketing and business development services to seafood businesses outside of Rhode Island. The Seafood Marketing Collaborative was created by the General Assembly in 2011, and its main goal and objectives are to support local fishermen and small businesses and to increase awareness, sale, and consumption of Rhode Island seafood in Rhode Island. As chairperson, the petitioner oversees the Rhode Island Seafood Program. She manages the quarterly meetings of the collaboratives, works with state partners to further the collaborative's mission and goals. She also advocates for state budget to support the collaborative's mission, manages the collaborative's seasonal employees, and one full-time seafood market consultant, and also works with the more than 150 partner businesses of the collaborative. In order to achieve its mission, the collaborative works with local businesses that sell local seafood. The collaborative also has a really nice website. The website also has an interactive map that lists all the partner businesses of the collaborative and indicates where local seafood is sold. It also created a seafood logo for Rhode Island Seafood, and the partner businesses can use that logo to indicate that their business actually sells local seafood. The petitioner explains that her family has been in the seafood industry for 4 generations in Alaska and has built strong relationships with other members in the industry in states such as California and Washington. Given her background and experience, the petitioner represents that in her private capacity, she would like to start a private consulting business and provide business development and marketing services to private seafood businesses outside of Rhode Island. The petitioner states that she would conduct her private business outside of her normal working hours with the Rhode Island DEM and without the use of public resources or confidential information received through her public position. She notes that in order to avoid any conflicts of interest, she will screen each client before entering into agreement to ensure that the client does not do business in Rhode Island or with Rhode Island businesses, or is not interested in targeting Rhode Island seafood businesses or consumers. The petitioner represents that her marketing services may vary and range from simply taking pictures to be used by their clients in their marketing initiative, or creating a full plan regarding how the client would achieve their desired result. The petitioner notes that in her public capacity, she promotes Rhode Island seafood industry as a whole and works towards increasing the consumption of locally sourced and grown seafood in Rhode Island. Clarifies that neither she nor the collaborative provide specific marketing services to individual Rhode Island seafood businesses. In contrast, in her private capacity, the petitioner will be working with specific seafood businesses to achieve their very specific goals through improved marketing. She does not expect that any of her private clients would be appearing before the collaborative, and that given that those clients would be out-of-state entities. She represents that in the unlikely event that any of her clients were to expand their business to Rhode Island, she's prepared to sever her relationship with that client. I have listed several provisions of the Code of Ethics on pages 3 and 4 of the draft. Now, the Ethics Commission has consistently opined that public officials or employees are not inherently prohibited from holding employment that is secondary to their public employment, provided that their private employment would neither impair their independence of judgment nor create an interest in substantial conflict with their public duties, and subject, of course, to certain restrictions. The Ethics Commission examines several factors when considering potential conflict regarding secondary employment. These factors include, but are not limited to, the nexus between the public and private employment, whether the employee completes such work outside of their normal working hours and without the use of public resources, whether the employee is to appear before or her work is to appear before her own agency, whether such work is to be completed outside of the areas over which the person has decision-making jurisdiction, and whether the employee uses her position to solicit business or customers. Now, although the Ethics Commission has previously opined that certain public officials and employees could not hold secondary private employment within the same jurisdiction in which they publicly served because of a substantial conflict of interest between the two positions. The Ethics Commission has consistently allowed public officials and employees to engage in secondary employment that was outside of their official public jurisdiction. I have listed several advisory opinions on pages 4 and 5 of the draft. Here, the petitioner's public duties are limited to promoting the increased consumption in Rhode Island of locally grown and or caught seafood. Her proposed private employment would include the marketing of out-of-state seafood businesses to consumers or other business entities outside of Rhode Island. She notes that she would screen each potential client for any conflicts and to make sure that they do not do business in Rhode Island or work with Rhode Island businesses or even target Rhode Island businesses or consumers. Based upon the facts as represented by the petitioner, including the limitation she would impose on her private duties, there is no evidence to suggest that her proposed private endeavor would impair her independence of judgment or create an interest that is in substantial conflict with her public duties at the Rhode Island DEA and the collaborative. Accordingly, it is the opinion of the staff that the Code of Ethics does not prohibit her from starting a private business. However, she must do so in her own time and without the use of public resources or confidential information received through her public office, and also provided that she does not use her public employment to promote or advertise her private work or to recruit or obtain potential client for her private business. This includes, but is not limited to, identifying her public position on her private business cards and marketing materials, or soliciting clients while performing her public duties. Here, this advisory opinion cannot anticipate all and every potential conflict that may arise, thus provide general guidance to the petitioner, and she is encouraged to seek further guidance from the commission if and or when such potential conflicts may arise. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Ogren, you've had an opportunity to talk to Attorney Papa before you came here. You had a chance to review the draft advisory opinion before you came here.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions or comments for the commission?
Just the comment that Theodora did a really great job summarizing the current role at the Department of Environmental Management, but also the intent to start private seafood marketing consultancy. Marketing and seafood are incredibly nuanced, and so we spent a lot of time together kind of going over each individual opportunity or thing that could rise and how we handle that. So she did a very great job of kind of wading through those waters, no pun intended. So nevertheless, I'm happy to provide any clarifications or answer any questions.
Do any of the members have any questions for Ms. Papa or for?
I do. I'm just curious about the, certain marketing campaigns you might do for seafood companies outside of Rhode Island. How are you going to ensure that they don't do business in Rhode Island? For example, I'm thinking, like, let's say Island Creek Oyster hires you and they're in Massachusetts, but I can ship their oysters to my house. Are you not gonna work for a company that will ship seafood to Rhode Island? They're not in Rhode Island, but they can ship things here. So I'm just sort of thinking about that, or an Instagram campaign. How are you gonna make sure the algorithm doesn't display the marketing campaign you work for a main company to me here in Rhode Island? If I start clicking on, pictures of lobsters, now the algorithm's gonna feed me, based on my location and interests, maybe your marketing campaign, but I'm gonna buy lobsters direct from there as opposed to the Port Lobster.
You're absolutely right, Ms. Peterson. So when you are thinking about a marketing campaign, there are a lot of techniques and indicators that you can use to exclude Rhode Island.
Okay.
When you're thinking about a social media campaign, you can exclude your target audience. Understandably, we're in a global market, so yeah, you can probably see Alaskan seafood.
Mhm.
But as the marketing strategist or somebody taking photos, I'm not going to actively give them techniques or tricks to target Rhode Island. So you have to think about when you're in marketing, you're not doing advertising. While that might be part of the plan, you can say, okay, you're gonna wanna do an advertising campaign, you're gonna want to do new photos, you're gonna wanna develop a nice brand. And then when you're talking about sales, that's also separate marketing. So while marketing kind of sounds like it does it all, when you come together with a marketing plan, my intent is not to put together any kind of plan to target Rhode Islanders or Rhode Island businesses or ship to sell in Rhode Island. Now, there's always that intent to maintain that Rhode Island seafood should be marketed to consumers, and consumers in Rhode Island should always eat Rhode Island seafood. We're the ocean state. So there's no intent there to cut against that. I've spent 4 years working diligently to build up this brand and ensure that businesses in Rhode Island keep their business in Rhode Island and are not having to compete with out-of-state businesses. That happens now regardless. But when I do my consultancy, it's not to target Rhode Island businesses. So if a main company says we want to go into Rhode Island, I can't take that business. And I can't do that. And so if they want to say, we want to take new photos, and can you come up and take photos because that's what we like? I don't see a nexus between those photos and they're targeting Rhode Islanders. So there's a lot of nuance there, but as the person in charge of the client acquisition on my private side and ensuring that they don't cut against Rhode Island businesses. Does that answer the question?
Sure. I think it sounds delicate, but for example, that company then take your photos and market them. And I hear what you're saying. I think the lines are very blurred. I'm in charge of client acquisition for my firm, so I appreciate everything that you're saying. So I just am intrigued to see where it goes. I know that you don't want to market against your own brand. You spent 4 years building up. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens, how you're able to work that.
Thank you. yeah, absolutely, and I can assure you that there's, you know, to do this was not to really market towards just New England seafood businesses. There's a lot of West Coast businesses, right? And I can assure you, with no due disrespect to Rhode Island, they're not targeting Rhode Island as a consumer base. They're targeting New York, they're targeting Las Vegas, they're targeting Los Angeles. And that's really what you want to get into. The market here is so saturated with seafood that Rhode Island isn't a target. And any marketing initiatives or intents or strategies would not be profitable for those businesses anyway here.
Because they've run up against your program.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm just kind of pulling that same thread. Could you help us get an understanding in your role as as the chairperson? Is there not, sort of a charge to expand the Rhode Island Seafood Collaborative to a point where we are competitive external to Rhode Island? I sort of, my fellow commissioner's question, I sort of had it in reverse when I wrote it, which was, is part of our role or part of your role designed to market externally to expand the customer base of Rhode Island Seafood external to Rhode Island, in addition to within Rhode Island? Number one, that was kind of what I was concerned about. And then number two, if that were the case, again, how would we be able to sort of segment, this competitive and proprietary sort of charge that I believe you have? I don't have all the information, but could you expand a little bit on how your client base external to New England would not conflict with how the Rhode Island Seafood Collaborative is trying to compete external to Rhode Island, if that is the case?
So your two-part question can be addressed in the first part. Right now, our charge is to expand consumption of locally caught landed seafood in Rhode Island. And the 19-member board, while there's been musings, there's been ideas, there's really actually been no intent to expand that. And honestly, we would have to go before the legislature to change that charter. We can't just unilaterally go and start marketing seafood to Massachusetts. We have a Massachusetts partnership. So Massachusetts does Mass Seafood, Maine does Maine Seafood. And so we work collaboratively, but to have Rhode Island actively go out and expand consumption of Rhode Island seafood to over its state borders and showcase to other states that Rhode Island seafood is in their state is not the intent of the scope of our charter.
May I, to use your previous example, then we wouldn't be interested in trying to sell, or I guess by charter, we would not want to expand to a Las Vegas or to a Los Angeles.
No.
Okay.
We, just to be a little bit more granular as well, Rhode Island doesn't, while we have a supply to expand calamari out to the world, right? Town Dock does that really well. They get it everywhere that they can. But the Rhode Island Seafood Marketing Collaborative doesn't have that charter. Our goal is for in-state consumption and purchasing. And there is a notion that Rhode Island can only take in so much seafood. We are still at a huge import of outside seafood. So we still have a lot of work to go. So we're not even at our maximum capacity to consume all the seafood that Rhode Islanders have. So you're right, there's no intent, and that's not within our charter to market that seafood to Philadelphia or to New York or to Las Vegas.
Super helpful. But that doesn't preclude the members of the collaborative from doing their own work to try to sell to Las Vegas.
They can do that,
Right.
yeah, they
It's
can
not
try
that-
to do that, but as the collaborative, it is our intent to stay in state. Yes, absolutely.
Any other commission have questions, comments for either Ms. Papa or for Ms.? Sorry, I keep saying Moran, but he signed up as Ogren.
Recently got married, so they're both.
Congratulations. Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by staff?
So moved.
I think Commissioner Susie beat you to it. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Rapids. Roll call vote, Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centarini. Aye. Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Rapids.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Before you have Ms. Papa leave, I'd just like to thank her for appearing today. We appreciate that you were able to do that despite your illness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah, feel better.
Thank you.
Next item on the sign-in sheet is Chris Bonanno, whom we have as Christopher Bonanno.
Morning, everyone. Welcome, Mr. Bonanno. The draft for this petitioner is at tab C in your binders. The petitioner was sent a safe harbor letter with his draft advisory opinion. Although these letters are rarely distributed, in this case, because the vote in which Mr. Bonanno wished to participate was last night, and because he could not be heard by the Ethics Commission until today, based upon a review of the draft by the executive director at my request, given the rather straightforward facts, analysis, and recommendation here, the petitioner was advised that as of the date of the letter with which his draft was enclosed, which was July 21st, he was able to act consistent with the recommendation in the draft unless and until advised by the Ethics Commission that he may no longer do that. So with that, Mr. Bonanno is a member of the Cranston City Council. He has asked whether the Code of Ethics prohibits him from participating in the City Council's discussions and voting to accept as a whole, to accept or reject as a whole, the collective bargaining agreement reached between the school committee and the teachers union, given that his spouse is employed by the City of Cranston, the school district, and is also a member of the union. Now, under the code, a petitioner may not take official action that will financially impact a member of their family. The nepotism regulation specifically addresses participation in collective bargaining agreements. There is a blanket prohibition against involvement in contract negotiations based on an understanding that during negotiations, the impact of decisions as to individual components of contracts can be difficult to predict. And for that reason, a public official's participation in a contract issue that is seemingly unrelated to a family member can have a resulting impact on other areas of the contract that would directly affect that family member. The regulation does allow a person subject to the code to participate in the decision to accept or reject an entire collective bargaining agreement that has been negotiated by others, provided that the person within the family or household is impacted by that agreement as a member of a significant and definable class of persons and not individually or to any greater extent than any other similarly situated member of the class. So unlike the various school committee members from the advisory opinions cited in the draft, who were required to recuse from participating in negotiations of employment contracts by which their family members would be impacted, but who were allowed to vote whether to ratify such contracts in their entirety, the instant petitioner seeks permission only to vote on whether or not to ratify the collective bargaining agreement that was negotiated by other people that will impact his spouse. Based on the facts as represented, the relevant provisions of the Code of Ethics and prior advisory opinions issued, it is the opinion of staff that Mr. Bonanno is not prohibited by the Code of Ethics from participating in the City Council's discussion and voting to accept or reject as a whole the collective bargaining agreement reached between the school committee and the teachers union, provided that his spouse is impacted by that agreement to no greater extent than any other similarly situated member of her class of teachers and union members. I'm happy to answer any questions or to defer to Mr. Bonanno as appropriate.
Mr. Bonanno, you've had an opportunity to talk to Ms. Revicius at some length along the way here, I'm sure. You've seen the advisory opinion.
Yes.
for draft advisory opinion. Do you have any questions or concerns to express to the commission?
No, I don't have any questions or concerns. I do, want to make sure that I say thank you to Mr. Decius and to the, director for the safe harbor letter and for the opinion. I do want to quickly address the timing. Had I known, with enough notice, I would have sought the opinion earlier. What happened was in July, late July, I believe it was I want to say it was the week before the 21st. 21st was a Monday, so whatever the Monday was before that is when, on the same day, the contract was ratified by the teachers union, sent to the school committee and approved by the school committee. And there was a special meeting called of the city council to send it to the finance commission, which then met within the very short time frame of open meetings that open meetings allows. The finance committee, of which I am not a member, sent it to our full council meeting, which was last night. So this was an extremely accelerated process that happened within 2 weeks. As soon as I found out that the contract was going to be put before the union for ratification, and on the same day go to the school committee meeting that night, I contacted Board of Ethics. So it was not my intention to have to use a safe harbor letter, but the accelerated nature of the contract, they're trying to get it done before school started. Yeah, I even spoke to the council president to, in this case, to see if anything could be delayed to get to the meeting after this meeting. So that's the only thing I just wanted to address. I hate doing things last minute, but this was an accelerated process. So
I just want to say, don't worry.
okay,
You got here.
yeah,
You got what you needed and you got through your vote. And we appreciate that you came when you came. So don't worry about the timing. Someone else have any
I
questions?
do have a question.
sure.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is unusual to have you had already get your safe harbor letter, but it offers us the opportunity to ask, did anyone there offer the discussion? Because on page 1, you say they will vote yea or nay. And having sat in the audience and behind the table for, so many years, I'm watching meetings, it doesn't always just be yay, it doesn't go yay or nay, whether they're supposed to or not. So how did it go last night?
So last night, there was a general conversation about people in support of the contract, which I did participate in. However, there was no back and forth about specific provisions in the contract. Our entire council meeting last night took 35 minutes. So matter of fact, I wore this last night and I didn't wear it very long, so I got through a segment. But so to answer your question, it was very straightforward. I did read a letter from not only a constituent of mine, but the school committee chair on his behalf. He asked me to read in support of the contract. I voted in favor of the contract, as did the entire city council. It was a unanimous vote. So there was no nitpicking. There was no, how about this? How about that? Can we take this and move it over? None of that. It was, we support this. Everybody sort of supported it.
I just had to ask because we never get to do that.
That's,
So thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, so, it was, like I said, a 35-minute council meeting. It's unheard of.
I would only add that Mr. Bonanno was front and center at the ethics training for the city of Cranston earlier this year, and his status as an A+ student.
And was he wearing a yellow jacket?
He was not.
Any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve and issue the advisory opinion as presented by staff?
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson, second by Commissioner Callahan, roll call vote, Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Cederini.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Mr. Rabideau.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We do appreciate it when people come before us. You don't get to sit down.
Nope.
Next item on the agenda is an education update from the staff attorney Radicius.
This annual education update is for fiscal year 2025, which was the period between July 1st of 2024 and June 30th of this year. A total of 2,963 people received ethics training during this time. This reflects an increase of 354 people from last year. Turning first to live trainings, that would include in-person, Zoom, and a hybrid of the two. There were 56 trainings in total, attended by 2,324 people. This is 7 more trainings than last year, and 56 is a 7-year record for me since joining in fiscal year 2019. Live trainings are broken down by month and category on page 1 of your handout. Pages 2 and 3 contain an alphabetical listing by category of the groups that received the training. There were 29 municipal trainings attended by 1,072 people. There were 9 state trainings attended by 406 people. That was separate and apart from the new state employees for whom ethics training is part of their orientation. This occurs on a monthly basis. They numbered 524 this year. So the total number of state employees, whether seasoned or brand new, to whom ethics training was presented live this year was 930. The balance between municipal and state trainings seems to shift in alternating years. For instance, in FY 2024, there were 11 municipal trainings and 22 state. Last year, there were 29 municipal trainings and 9 state. I cannot say that was intentional, but I don't dislike it. Quite frankly, attempts to balance the delivery of trainings to state and municipal officials stays on my radar, and this seems to have happened organically over a 2-year period. Some live trainings of note in fiscal year 2025, the Bonnet Shores Fire District. The solicitors from every state, every city and town in the state. I held 2 sessions at different times, morning and afternoon, both via Zoom. Got them CLE credit, which upped the attendance considerably, I'm convinced. Also, the State Board of Medical Licensure and Discipline at ethics training. I was actually invited to attend a training that they were presenting on something else. And so at the end, kind of made the pitch to have them have me back, which they did a couple of months later. The Cannabis Control Commission, they are consistent with getting trainings. The Rhode Island Commerce Corporation had a training for everyone there, as did the entire Department of Revenue, which plans to do this every 1 to 2 years. Also, the Executive Director delivered trainings to the members of both the House and Senate and their staffs. Regarding live trainings to municipalities, I have delivered live trainings to 38 of the 39 municipalities at least once, and in many cases more than once in the last 5 years. West Greenwich has been my holdout. We had tentatively scheduled for March of this year and they postponed. I am on it, believe me. 22 of the 39 municipalities were trained live and in person this year. In keeping with our recommendation that people engage in ethics training every 1 to 3 years, on July 1st of this year, I sent letters to the clerks of the 10 municipalities which have not hosted a training in at least 3 years. Those who do not respond with a call to schedule a training will get a call from me in August. I will offer them their first choice of dates where I can and give them plenty of time to promote it. Most of the clerks with whom I communicate regularly are responsive and helpful. I will be prepared to reach out to council presidents, town managers, and solicitors as necessary to schedule these trainings. I've already heard back from 2 of the 10 clerks and in the process of scheduling trainings for them. Turning now to the pre-recorded ethics training course, which is available online. The number of people from state departments, boards, commissions, and agencies who complete the training are on pages 4 and 5 of the handout. They total 461. The total of people from municipalities who completed the training are on page 6. They total 178. In all, 639 people completed the pre-recorded training in fiscal year 2025. Last year, 349 did, so the new count marks an increase of about 45%. While most elected and appointed officials seem to prefer taking the training live and in person, it is just as important that municipal and state employees be aware of their responsibilities under the Code of Ethics. My focus for the upcoming year will be to have HR folks from Rhode Island cities and towns strongly encourage it for their employees. I will also look at state agencies who have yet to encourage their employees to take the training. Most of the big ones have been pretty good. This past year, a few towns had the link sent to all of their employees, but only some completed it. So I look forward to contacting, the HR people in those towns to determine whether there's a particular time of year that their employees should take the training at work, or to suggest that they strongly encourage, compliance with this. It was recently brought to my attention by a municipal employee that a number of them are gathering at the computer of one person to take the training together, despite the links having been sent to them individually, which is necessary part of the state's ability to track completions for us. This, of course, means the number of completions is higher, which is great, but it negatively affects my stats, which is not so great. The prime candidates for pre-recorded training remain state employees, followed by municipal employees and members of state boards, commissions, and agencies. State and municipal employees are generally unavailable to attend a group training in the evening, even during the day in many cases. State boards, commissions, and agencies are generally comprised of smaller groups of people who already face crowded agendas for limited meetings, so taking the pre-recorded training online makes sense. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the report or the education program in general.
Have any questions? I have a question, I've lost mine. On the municipal pre-recorded list, page 5, I think it is.
Yes.
There's requests, and then there's those who actually took the test. So it's like 400 plus who
Right,
requested and 170.
right,
I don't understand the concept of a request.
sure, I can tell you how
What
that is.
what does the request number mean? Because there were a couple that were quite high
Yes, they are, and,
with low take.
I flirted with the idea of omitting that column, but, it keeps me on my toes. So the state has set up the training so that any employee of the state has immediate access to the Rhode Island Learning Center, right? And some of us have mandatory trainings. They just type in their code and they go right to the training. And when I set this up with the state, I said, I need people from municipalities to have access to this training. What can you do for me? They said, what we can do is send them a link. But what has to happen is, and I need to keep my hand in this because I don't really trust anything. When I get those printouts, I do them by hand as well. And so someone from a municipality wants the ethics training. I usually say to the clerks, why don't you gather all the names? I need their name and their email address. That's all I need, and your town. And every Friday, I send a list to the state of Rhode Island, right? And I say, these are the people that requested links, and they are sent out either that day or by Monday or Tuesday. I track them, and then quarterly, I get reports of who completed the training. So if someone starts those 7 modules, takes 2 of them and drops out, I don't get them as having did it. And then I get my quarterly reports and I check off who does it. Sometimes we will get, a couple of times I've had a police department have everybody get the training. The good thing about them is they'll follow up. They'll call me and say, who didn't complete it? We're going out to them. But I'll do a training in Cumberland, let's say, for elected and appointed, and I'll do my pitch. We really should get your employees trained. Talk to the clerk, send me a list. She gives me a list of 90 names and 7 of them take it. I've thought about calling and saying, would you like to know who took it and who didn't? But because it's not mandatory and I'm still begging people to take ethics training, I haven't, done much with that. And then when I heard, well, some of us gather and we all watch it together and, but yeah, it's disproportionate. It's getting a little better, but it's not. Right.
So when it says 102 requests from East Providence and 77 who completed it.
Right.
102 came from the clerk when you asked for a number.
Yes, they can also do it individually. I get emails from people saying, I work in Tiverton. Can you please send me the link?
So that would be why Providence would have 2 requests and no completions.
Perhaps,
Only two for Providence requested it.
right. And that surprises me because they were very special requests that came in and I was surprised at that.
Yeah, I
But
was just picking the number.
yeah,
Because it was one where The others, I thought, okay, that's the number of employees, but that's not what it is either, so.
No, it's the
I-
number of requests versus those who completed. And some of those people could have taken the first one and thought it was over. I don't know how, because ad nauseum, I say, go to the next one. But one thing I don't do anymore is when I set up a live training in a town and, you know, for elected and appointed, and I'll say, oh, see who comes out and can they take it online? And I'll say, when I do a live training, I don't like to announce that it's available online, pre-recorded, until after I do it, that presentation, because here's what's gonna happen. Oh, I'll take it online. They don't take it. So, that's what I got.
Questions? Other commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a motion to go into executive sessions. Required to read all of this. To wit. A motion to approve minutes of the executive session held on July 1, 2025, pursuant to our IGN law section 4246(5)(a), 2, and 4. B, In re Jason E. Lichardi, Senior, complaint number 2025-1, pursuant to our IGN law section 4246(5)(a), 2, and 4. C, In re James Durkin, complaint number 2025-4, pursuant to our IGN law section 42-46-5(a), 2, and 4. And In re Robert L. Lombardo, complaint number 2025-5, pursuant to our IGN law section 42-46-5(a), 2, and 4, and then a motion to return to open session. Is there a motion to go into executive session? Motion by Commissioner Susie, second. Second by Commissioner Rabbit, roll call vote. Commissioner Susie.
Aye.
Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Commissioner Centering.
Aye.
Peterson. Commissioner Rabbit.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. We'll now go into executive session.